everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm Dr. Christopher Chew, Superintendent of Schools here in Westford, and I'm here today with some members of our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion team that we have at the school. Now, last year, the 5 of us gathered together to sort of act as a response team to support the previous superintendent if something had come up that we could use some additional help in crafting language and getting specific feedback on when we wouldn't be able to bring the entire team together, because our entire team now is almost 40 strong, with representation throughout the entire district from every single school. Our full administration team, all of our principals are members of the team now, and so one of the things that I want to say up front as we talk to you today about a recent incident that took place at Westford Academy and just different things that we as a district are working on, have been working on moving forward, is that we are 5 white individuals sitting here talking to you about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we acknowledge that. We acknowledge, in some cases, the irony of that. But we know that this is our work to be doing. It's important work that we need to be committed to. As anti-racists trying to work to dismantle racism and to respond to it when we see it here in our district and throughout our community. One of the things that I have heard asked recently in response to the events at Westford Academy was specifically what about the student discipline and what consequences that were taking place for students who were involved. And it's important for me to explain to people that with the responsibilities that schools have to protect student privacy, there are certain aspects of discipline that we're just not allowed to talk about publicly, that we're not allowed to share with people. There have been consequences for the students. There are ongoing consequences, and we're working towards the process now of restorative justice and trying to provide deeper education and counseling specifically for students that were involved, and then our wider community as well, both at the school level and then throughout the district and then ultimately with the town. And so one of the things I wanted to share with you today were just some resources that we've utilized. Some we've utilized for a number of years now, and some that would be specifically helpful for families if you're wondering how you might be able to communicate with your children about events around racism that they might witness or that they might hear about. And so an organization that was formerly called Teaching Tolerance, which is now known as Learning for Justice, has a lot of resources on their website for families, for school districts to utilize in the process of facilitating conversation and just in trying to organize the work that you might be doing, both proactively and reactively. And we're going to talk to you about a number of other things today as well, too.
As part of our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, we had a reporting processes subcommittee, and what really came out of that is we created a streamlined way for individuals to report discrimination which has occurred within our community. Discrimination in the form of race, color, national origin, age, religion, conscience, sex, disability, or others. Within our schools, we now have a platform or avenue for which individuals, staff, and students can report a civil rights complaint or file a civil rights complaint in which the building administrator, as well as any individual person that they designate within their buildings, are able to access this report, and they're able to do a full investigation to make sure that we are supporting our students, we are supporting members of our community. And the way in which individuals can access that is, it is currently on every school's website. They can also access it within the bathrooms within the buildings at the high school and at the middle schools. There's access within the libraries, the cafeterias, the office, and the teachers' rooms as well. So there is a way and an avenue in which people can report or file these complaints so that we can do further investigations to make sure that the members within our community do feel as if they're safe and feel as if they belong as well. So that's something that we have worked on. It's currently in place. It went in place about 2 weeks ago. So it's something that we have worked on and is currently available to our staff, to our students, and to our community members as well. The second piece, which we have worked with, this is now our second year, is there is a company known as Panorama Education. It is a tool available to us in which we can create surveys and survey our staff, survey our families, survey our students as well. And what it really does is it helps us get a sense of the climate within the buildings, the climate within the district, and some of the topics which we have worked on and really have kind of focused on during our time in working with Panorama, and some that really have streamlined throughout the district as of most recently were the topics of sense of belonging, supportive relationships, cultural awareness and action, diversity and inclusion, and teacher-student relationships. These are topics in which are driving our school improvement plans. They're also helping us to determine specifically how we can better support our community as a whole around these topics, as well as other topics which we choose to take a look at and also see where we can find areas of growth, but also find areas where we can celebrate as an individual school or as a district as well.
So professional development is another important aspect of the work that we have been doing. And last year, as a subgroup of our overall school district diversity, equity, and inclusion team, the education subcommittee facilitated a professional development day in May. We were fortunate enough to have Dr. Khalees Warnham join us to do a presentation for the entire staff in the morning, and then our afternoon was comprised of discussion groups that were cross-district groups to process through the professional development we had received in the morning, and to also use some videos and other materials that our ADL peer leaders had developed for our teachers and staff to work through. This fall, we were also fortunate to have Dr. Warnham join us again for our full-day professional development, and our focus across our buildings has been diversity, equity, and inclusion. Dr. Warnham continues her work with our administrative team to help build capacity through the leadership team. Another area that we have been continuing for some time is discussion groups among staff. About 4 years ago, a former colleague, Jenny Kravitz, created discussion groups focused on learning more about racism and the way that it impacts our students and our staff. And those discussion groups have continued across a variety of topics. In the summer, we sometimes have weekly discussion groups where we might be using a book or a podcast as our resource for discussions. And throughout the year, we meet once a month. This year, we are utilizing a PBS documentary on Asian Americans to learn more about the Asian American experience throughout the history of the United States, to further develop our own understanding of the ways that historical events have impacted our community today.
Over the past 4 years, we've also had the pleasure of working with the Anti-Defamation League with the A World of Difference peer leader program. Myself and Janet Kierstead and Amy have been working with these students in different levels, in the middle school and in the high school, and to watch these students lead conversations that so many of us have difficulties with is truly rewarding. And so these students are trained by the national organization, the Anti-Defamation League, on how to have really difficult conversations and to be community leaders among the students, trying to provide spaces for everybody to be heard and to feel like they can learn and grow. Those same students have developed resources for teachers and professional development, and teachers have been able to learn from them as well, which has been truly excellent. And those students in the programs are still being trained and going into classrooms. Even through the pandemic, when they couldn't go into classrooms, they were able to meet and set up different groups of students so that everyone has a space to feel comfortable. And it's been a pleasure to continue to work in that space.
Additionally, we're taking a look at the materials that we have for our faculty, staff, and that we offer to students to ensure that they allow students to see themselves and also to see windows into other worlds as they move forward. The district has provided additional funds to all 9 libraries to build their library collection more strongly with an eye toward inclusivity. In addition, members of the DEI team and curriculum coordinators are in the process of examining the classroom libraries and our curriculum to assess and address the need to be more inclusive. It's going to be an ongoing process. We've created a rubric to look at where we are, and then we want to make sure that we continue to secure information and secure materials so that we can continue to help our students see themselves.
Well, this is important work that we are and have been engaging in. We know we are just at the surface of addressing issues of bias and discrimination in our community.
Based on these events, clearly, we have work to do. We're working to build our knowledge and our capacity to be able to handle these situations as they arise.
We will continue to work towards becoming a community where students and staff feel empowered to be upstanders rather than bystanders.
We are committed to working toward being anti-racist.
There have been many statements debating whether this is who we are or this is not who we are. To move forward, we need to recognize that we are both a community that needs to reflect and address our explicit and implicit biases and discrimination, and we are a community that strives to create a better, inclusive, welcoming, and supportive place for all of our students and staff and visitors. I want to thank you for taking time to listen to us today. One of our thoughts was just the idea of sharing with people the work that I think Westford has been doing for a little while now, and the work that we're going to continue doing moving forward as we engage in restorative practices to try to repair and to work towards promote healing. Thank you very much.